Welcome to the Sam and Joe VA Show, where we teach women just like you how to create your very own in-demand virtual assistant business.
We're your hosts, Sam and Joe, and get ready to have the control, flexibility, and freedom you've always dreamed of.
Welcome to episode 44. You say you are, but you aren't.
Yeah. What we're going to talk about this week is around finding clients and the advice that Joe and I provide our VA community on how to find clients. We provide a lot of advice around this. We're really clear about the do's and don'ts. But what happens when you think that you're doing all that and it's still not working?
What we teach works. And so if you are taking our advice and it's not working for you, then we've got 4 key areas that you need to be taking a very, very hard look at. Because we recently spoke to a bookkeeper and she had listened to our advice. She'd watched the Finding Clients session and she still couldn't find clients. And she hasn't been able to for a while. She's got a few, but still needs a lot more. And so we started listing the things that we teach. And she was like, yep, I do that. I do that. Yep, I do that. I do that. I do that. And when we went to have a look afterwards at her online presence, we realized that she thought she was doing those things, but she definitely was not. So one of the things that we teach in Finding Clients is all about providing value to people, showcasing your knowledge online. And so when we had a look at this online presence of this bookkeeper, what we saw was one tip recently about a reminder for when GST was due for filing and for paying. And then we didn't really see much more.
Yeah. There were a few. Actually, there was a lot of sharing other people's content, a lot of sharing articles that other people had written. But in terms of her own content that she was creating for her ideal client, for her followers, her audience, there was slim to none.
When we talk about showcasing your knowledge and what you know, your skills online and teaching people things and educating and providing that value, you have to be providing content that is really nailing down to teaching them something. Now, this bookkeeper, she could have been showcasing how much she knows about Xero or MYOB. She could have been doing videos or posts about features in Xero, ways to streamline the bookkeeping process, how to automatically get bills into Xero. All of these things, and there's amazing features in Xero, and there's amazing things that you can do in terms of your bookkeeping process, and that all bookkeepers should be doing for their clients. Now, she could have been talking about all of those things. That is really showing value in your knowledge and what you know. She could have been teaching people things about how to code things, or, you know, what some of the rules are around like buying vouchers and whether you can claim the GST on that or not. Buying secondhand goods. Like there's so many little tips that she could have been giving out to people, and she just didn't. But she thought that she was providing value and tips by sharing other people's content and saying GST is due.
Yeah.
So when you go and have a look at your content, are you actually providing real value to people, or are you just doing it on a surface level or thinking that you are, but you're not?
Now, this particular bookkeeper, she shared with us she'd recently done a rebrand as well. So in terms of the look of her online presence, she thought that box was ticked. She was really happy with it. Then when it came for us to going in and taking a look, the first thing that both Joe and I thought was it was very out of date. Even though she had updated it, it was a DIY job. Which, and I'm not saying don't DIY your branding, but know your strengths. Look,
Mm,
if you don't have that skill, then you need to be getting somebody else to do it for you.
mm,
This particular brand, we both looked at each other afterwards, and it was like it was from the 90s. It was very clip arty.
mm.
And if anyone had watched this year's summit session on web tips or
Design trends.
web design trends for this year, that's the exact thing that people do not want to be seeing right now.
Definitely not. Illustration is very different to clip art. You know
Yes.
the guy with the white circle head, and he's doing all sorts of things and he's holding different things, like, do not use any clip art. We've
No,
got Canva. You don't even need to use clip art anymore.
no.
We have Canva. There are lots of illustrations and things in Canva that you can use that are not clip art.
Mm,
And we're not saying go to a fancy design agency and get them to do a whole like brand strategy, etc. This is about just getting some things that look modern and well designed in your online presence so that you look credible, you look modern, you look like you know what you're talking about, and you're presenting yourself in a really good way. Um, yeah, it just, I wasn't I wasn't excited when I went to the online presence. I wasn't filled with, oh, she's up with technology and things that are
mm,
happening in the modern world.
mm, mm.
So have a look at your online presence. What does it actually look like? What is the message that you're giving off to people? And like Sam says, you need to you need to stay within your strength. So if design is not your strength, then you need to have someone who has design as a strength to have a look at something for you, or get someone who is a successful person in your industry and get them to have a look for you, and be really open to honest feedback and let them know that you want the honest feedback and you can't take this personally. That person is just wanting to help you and get you looking modern online, but make sure you choose someone that is successful. This is not asking your mum. It's not asking your sister. This is asking someone in the industry who's successful.
Yeah, having another pair of eyes on any of that is invaluable. But yeah, as you said, Joe, it's got to be the right person that you're asking that advice from.
Mm.
Let's talk a little bit about messaging on LinkedIn. When we went into this bookkeeper's LinkedIn page, I don't think you could actually tell by her headline what it exactly actually that she was even a bookkeeper.
No, no idea. Had no idea. It was trying to be too clever,
Mm,
and by being too clever, you actually completely miss the point of what you actually can do for someone. Like bookkeeper for whatever industry you specialize in, or just bookkeeping for small business owners. Bookkeeper for small business owners as your headline. Like, it's so clear, it's so simple. People love clear and simple. People don't want to be trying to guess or figure out, like, oh, what does, you know, something about figures and numbers, and like, what does that actually mean? Are they an accountant? Are they a bookkeeper? What do they do? Do they do spreadsheet work? Do they do reports? Like, what is it? So if you just say what you do for people, keep it super simple. It works way better.
yeah, keywords are so powerful. So think about what people are searching for. They're not if they're wanting a bookkeeper, they are going to be putting in bookkeeper.
Mhm.
It really is that easy. Now, this bookkeeper she had also ticked the box in terms of in-person networking. She had belonged to one particular group, in-person networking group, for about a year, wasn't it, Joe?
It was, I think, and this is a bit from memory,
Mm.
and hadn't received any leads, or maybe not many leads from it.
Yeah, I think it was
Um,
zero.
yeah, so If you've been in a networking group for a while, and it does take a while, people need to build up that trust with you. But if it's a year, even if it's 6 months, you got to take a look at what you might be doing that you can improve on. And there's a few things that can contribute to this. There's one major one, which is around energy,
Mm.
confidence, how you present yourself, the vibe that you give out, the words that you use, the body language that you send off. All of that is sending a message to those in the networking group of whether they can trust that you will do a good job for people that they pass to you as a referral.
Mm. Mm.
Their reputation is on the line, and people don't do that lightly. They don't give referrals lightly unless they know that that person they're referring is going to have a really good experience. So it can get really disheartening when you haven't had any leads or clients and you get into that mode of negativity and like, oh, well, this is just not worth it. And like, oh, that whole sort of, my body language when I was saying that, oh, and negative and, oh, this is so wrong and this is bad. And, just that we're really sorry. We're really sorry to all the Debbies out there, but that Debbie Downer vibe that you might be sending off, you've really got to get that in check. And nobody wants to refer to a Debbie Downer or be associated with a Debbie Downer.
No, they don't. You need to put you need to check a lot of stuff at the door before walking in, don't you? So if you've had a bad week, or your kids have been sick, or you've lost a client, anything negative that has impacted your life that week, you've got to leave it at the door. And I'm talking about a virtual door as well. I know right now we're talking about in-person networking groups, but even virtually, you need to leave it at the door. First impressions are huge. They are huge, but not even first impressions. Even if you're talking to somebody that you've known for a year, like this bookkeeper that we're using as an example, she's been in this group for a year. You really need to think about your energy. Now, there'll be virtual assistants that are listening, oh, but I'm just not that bubbly person. That's just not who I am. So you tell us not to pretend that we're somebody we're not, right?
We do. And it's not about whether you are bubbly or not bubbly. You can still be emitting a positive or negative vibe or energy as you are talking to people and dealing with people. So it's about your posture.
Mm-hmm.
It's about your tone of voice, the excitement that you might have in your voice, looking into people's eyes, asking questions, being really interested, and keeping that energy high.
Mm.
It's not about being bubbly or not bubbly or shy or not shy, not at all. It's about the energy that you're giving off. Nobody wants to hear you talk negatively about the bad day that you've had or the morning
No.
or the bad sleep or the kids every time that they interact with you. That is going to have them feeling like their energy needs to lower to be able to match you, and nobody likes lowering their energy. That is a situation that they want to remove themselves from. There's no way that they're going to refer someone into that energy as well.
Yeah. If somebody doesn't want to spend 5 minutes talking with you, if they're making a quick getaway, there is no way they want to work long term with you. No way in hell.
So really have if you have been in a networking group and you've been in them for a while and you're not getting referrals, there is a reason why. You need to take a look at your messaging. How are you presenting yourself when you're doing your 60 seconds? Have you got a really clear message? Do they know exactly what you do? Are you trying to say, oh, I can do anything for anyone? Or are you specifically saying, I do bookkeeping or PA type services for a certain type of business? which is much easier for people to remember and refer. So take a look at that message that you're giving across to everyone, like actually in your words, and then take a look at your energy. How are you turning up? Are you letting it get you down, and are you emitting that energy because you aren't getting clients? Then you're just perpetuating that. So have a real hard look at yourself and how you can present yourself and come across a lot better than you are, because there's a reason why you're not getting referrals, and it's one of those two things. It's either the messaging or it's the energy, the vibe that you're giving off.
So for anyone listening, if you have been thinking that you've been doing everything right, you think all those boxes are ticked in terms of the advice we give you when it comes to finding clients, and it hasn't been working for you, it's time to go back and take a good hard look at yourself and what you're putting out there into the world.
Thanks to everyone for listening to this episode of the Sam and Joe VA Show. If you'd like to find out more, head to the Savvy School website to check out the amazing members club and find more free resources.
You can find us at savvyschool.co.nz.